Shalom, welcome to this week's news update for Israel advocates and especially you teenagers out there. Okay, the top story, as always, and as we start off every single one of these updates, is Iran. And until the Iranian regime is convinced to stop their aspirations for a nuclear weapon, that is going to be the top story. Okay, or unless there's a regime change and that new regime decides not to aspire to a nuclear weapon. Well, first of all, big news this week: the European Union got on the sanctions train. The European Union, a conglomerate of many different European nations, came together and sanctioned the use of Iranian oil. This was very big because certain countries like Greece, who are suffering horrible economic conditions, really need Iranian cheaper oil, and by sanctioning this oil, their economies will suffer worse. But they got on board, and their sanctions won't start like America's for another 6 months, but it's already having an effect as the Iranian economy is going back and forth and is seriously suffering, as we saw the rise of interest rates today in Iran. Iran's response to these is completely unpredictable. We have no idea how they're going to respond, whether they're going to take military action or not. We see the tensions in the Gulf are rising as Iran threatened that if the European Union does go through with these sanctions in 6 months' time, they will close the Strait of Hormuz. Now, America, Leon Panetta, the Secretary of Defense of the United States, has said that if the Iranians do close the Strait of Hormuz, that's America's red line, and they will take military action to open up the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz, again, is a small 4-mile wide, narrow waterway where 1/6 of the world's oil travels through. The closing of the Strait of Hormuz would seriously throw the world's economy into peril as oil and gas rises would rise. So we're looking at an Iranian threat that, if carried through, will lead to military action. America has moved the Abraham Lincoln, another aircraft carrier, and the Second Fleet into the Persian Gulf. So American forces are on the ready to take whatever action is needed. That President Obama last night in his State of the Union address said that he is hoping that diplomatic and the peaceful means can be brought upon to make sure that the Iranians no longer go for a nuclear weapon, but we'll have to wait to see if they will. Now, the head of the United States military flew out. His name is Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Martin Dempsey, flew to Israel this week and met with Israeli leaders. And supposedly what came out of that meeting, those were very secret talks, but hey, we know what's going on. Supposedly said that Israel will only give America 12 hours notice if it decides to attack, and obviously will not ask for American permission to attack Iran. So that's something that came out. That's a little nerve-wracking that we are getting closer and closer to a point where either Israel or America will decide that an attack needs to happen. Again, we're hoping that crazy nutcase Ahmadinejad decides to go back and change and decide that, you know what, let's be rational here and not go after a nuclear weapon. The Palestinians this week showed their true colors. There has been talks going on between Israel and the Palestinians taking place in Jordan. The Palestinians, though, are not really so committed to these talks, asking again that preconditions be met, that Israel withdraw to the 1967 borders, or at least agree to that, and that and other preconditions. The Palestinians, though, are showing their true colors by joining in with Hamas. Again, Hamas is a terrorist organization. They are not simply another party that are in the Palestinians, or even the majority of the Palestinians. They are a full terrorist entity. And when the Palestinians join in with them, that means that they are aligning themselves with terrorists. That is something that Israel cannot allow and cannot really be taken seriously as a true peace partner if they're aligning themselves with terrorists. So that's a difficult situation that needs to be watched. Egypt has gone hardline this week. The Egyptian elections are officially over, and they have decided to go with Islamist hardline. 75% of their parliament are now made up of Islamists. Now, that worries us because these are the same Islamists that gave birth to organizations like Hamas. But at the same time, the Muslim Brotherhood has signed on to keep the peace with Israel. The reason why they've done that is very simple. They have 1.5 billion reasons, and that's mine and your tax dollars, that go to support Egypt. If they lost that military funding, I don't think Egypt would be able to sustain a military. Okay, Russia this week just puzzles the mind. Russia being very reluctant to support sanctions against Iran. They have not signed on. And Syria with Hafez Assad, who is just mutilating and murdering his own people. This week Russia decided to sell 36 fighter jets to Syria. Don't understand why they are supporting them. Okay, if you live in Southern Florida or even elsewhere, please join us for our first Southern Florida Teen Advocacy Shabbaton in Boca Raton Synagogue, a joint effort by Hebrew Academy, Hillel Community Day School, YHS, and NCSY, along with APAC support coming from South Florida and Washington, D.C., and the Boca Raton Synagogue, which has the proud privilege of hosting the Shabbaton. We hope that you'll join us. Please contact me for more information. Shalom.